So we left off here, chapter 20, making accountability personal. I know what he was trying to say, but he missed the mark. Personal accountability does not begin with you, it begins with me. That's why I call it personal accountability. There are two myths about accountability. The first one is when we believe it's all about holding ourselves accountable. As a manager, might be setting standards, helping set goals, defining consequences, and coaching people towards agreed upon levels of performance. Though important, this is not personal accountability. The second myth, probably stemming from the constant emphasis on teamwork, is when we think accountability is a teamwork thing. Yes, it's critical, but teams are based on individuals who practice personal accountability. It is certainly valuable for people to come together to make commitments and then afterwards discuss what or did not happen. But true personal accountability is about each of us holding ourselves accountable of our own thinking and behaviors. And the result, they proceed. Some like to say there's no need in team, but I disagree. No matter the team, there are plenty of eyes, meaning people, individuals who can practice personal accountability to help the team move forward. The truth is, everyone is asking, what can we do? Nobody is asking, what can I do? What can I do? This is why the second QBQ's guideline is all QBQs contain an L, not they, we, or you. Questions that contain an I turn our focus away from other people and circumstances, but it back on our lives, on ourselves, where you can do the most good. We can't change other people. We often can't control circumstances. The only thing we have real control over are our own thoughts and actions. Asking questions that focus our efforts and energy on what we can do makes us significantly more effective, not to mention less frustrated and happier. Accountability groups are great tools. Managers and executives do need to define and communicate standards, but the power of personal accountability comes from questions that begin with what or who and contain an I. Chapter 21. I can only change me. Who is this only person I can change, right? Myself. Bet you've known that for a long time. So basic. So fundamentals. Here's another question for you. As you've been reading this material, who have you been picturing? Thinking, I wish they could hear this because they need it. It happens all the time. We say, I can only change me. But then, when asked, who you have been thinking needs this, we say, they do. Have you tried to fix anybody lately? We all do it. Some of us don't think we're trying to. trying to change people, even when we are a director of a nonprofit, said to his 4 team members in a roundable discussion. I believe I'm not trying to change. I'm not just think she should set more long-term goals for herself. Translation: I want her to be what I want to be. Others know what they're doing, but don't want to admit to it. I was talking to a training manager, making final arrangements for delivering a QBQ session for her organization. She said, "Do you want to know why the VP investing in this program?" "Sure," I said, cautiously wondering where this was leading. "He wants to fix Ed. Fix Ed," she went on to explain, was a supervisor who was struggling in his role. But instead of taking responsibility and dealing with the situation direct on and the honest way, the VP was going to put the whole team through training. Fix Ed. Stay hydrated. Fix Ed. Those words have always stuck in my head. Still others think there's a job to change people. Page 70. I was sitting with a man in my late 20s who actually said, "I believe it's my job to change people. I'm a manager." Sorry, managers don't change people. They can coach, counsel, teach, and guide, but no one changes another person. Change only comes from the inside as a result of decision made by the individual. This is a hard lesson to learn. And even we say we get it, but there's a big difference between understanding the idea and I can only change for myself. Honestly, examine the reality of our thoughts and actions. Frequently, I'll ask the group, what's the things you would change to enhance the effectiveness of your organization? Usually, they come out with a list of P's: product, program, policies, process, procedures, pricing, and people. More people, fewer people. Different people. One guy said Pepsi. Yes, Pepsi. If only we'd switch the pop machine in the break room from Coke to Pepsi. People's minds fill all kinds of ideas when asked what they would change to improve things. But guess what? Nobody ever says me. Just me. I would change me to make our organization run more effectively. Someone once suggested that it's a trick question, but it isn't. Read it again. Our minds simply don't get there. Our thoughts always focus elsewhere first, asking questions that begin with what or who. How. Contained and I brings our focus back to ourselves. How much better things would be if we all tried to mold and shape our thoughts and actions rather than those of others. The bottom line is that QBQ works because it's based on the truth. I can only change me. Chapter 22. He was there. almost there. We're almost there. Let's do 50. Read. Do 50. Read. Y'all count up to 50. And we're going to read. Count up to 50 and then we're going to read. After a presentation, a middle manager at Justin's, the class rang the yearbook company and came up and told me the idea, I can only change me, had really touched her. When I was a branch manager, she explained there was a guy reporting to me who just couldn't seem to manage. We didn't work well together at all. When he transferred to another location across the country, I was relieved. A couple of years went by. We found ourselves in the same office. I was his supervisor again. But this time, things were different. She said, we're getting along, communicating well, and cooperating on projects. At one point, I asked myself, when did he change? But then I realized he hadn't changed. I had. How had you changed? I asked her. She responds, nailed it right on the head. I stopped trying to change him. Chapter 23. When will others walk their walk? For senior management retreat for these days. They debate the critical issues, find charts with brightly colored ink. Finally, mission, vision, and values in hand. They return valley below, where people wait to receive the stone tablet, which magically transform into little laminated pocket cards for men to sit on and women to stuff into their briefcases. Not long after, the hurdle near water could pull up the card. Was these fellas when they do. Careful, the easiest thing to spot is gaps of integrity in others. The manager who says, I'm here to help you reach your own personal goals, and then dresses people down in front of others. The executive who says you're all empowered. It's our new program, and then adds, but before you do anything substantial, check with me first. The teammate who says, I appreciate my colleagues just the way they are, but if they'd only be like me a bit more. The organization that proudly declares on the lobby was guiding value, people, our greatest asset. Yet training taller is the last one budgeted for the first one cut. The definition of integrity is being what I say I am by acting in accordance with my words. QBQ, thinking leads to integrity, because integrity begins with me, not others. Asking the question, how can I practice the principles I oppose? Instead of asking, when will others walk their talk? Let's walk our own talk first. Chapter 24, an integrity test. Here's an integrity test for anyone who's part of an organization. There's not what we see about our organization while we're at work match what we say at home. If it's positive at work and negative a few hours later at home, we have a choice to make. Here's an idea we should all consider: believe or leave. I don't mean for this statement to sound harsh, but if your organization is no longer a vehicle to help you reach your life goals, why stay? This is not to say you must completely agree with every incentive our organization puts forth. Or every decision management makes. Neither does it mean we should ever challenge the status quo. Rather, since we choose where we work, wouldn't it be best to believe in that institution, its mission and values, and what it stands for in the marketplace, and we don't or can't? Wouldn't it be better to move on to one where we can? Too many people stay in positions that are a bad fit for them. They're unhappy, and their personal goals are out being fulfilled. This serves no one. Part of personal accountability is answering the integrity test. Question honestly, life is simply too short not to. Rest easy, Sahara. Chapter 25, the power of one. One of the most tempting questions to ask when we first learn the QBQ is, what can we do? The promise is we don't change teams. Department organizations don't change people. Change one at a time through their own choices. As I stated earlier, I'm a firm believer in team concept, but if we're not careful, we can end up substituting the language of teams, we and us, for the language of personal accountability. We can hide behind the team with statements which become excuses, such as the team didn't meet the deadline, the team wasn't given enough resources, page 80. The team didn't get the job done. The team didn't have a clear mission. Personal accountability isn't about hiding behind the team or making excuses. And it certainly is not about changing others. It's about making a difference by changing ourselves. Personal accountability, the power of one. Chapter 26. A QBQ twist. I'm going to read this page and we'll start pushing. You may already be familiar with serenity prayer. God grant me the serenity to accept things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Here's a QBQ twist for all of us. God, grant me the serenity to accept the people I cannot change, the courage to change the one I can, and the wisdom to know it's me. Chapter 27. For the role models, please stand up. We make tremendous fuss when Hollywood stars, sports figure, pop singer, politicals, and get out of line. Shame on them, we say, for being such a bad role model for the children. But in reality, no public figure as a role model for our kids. That's our job. That's our job, yours and mine. It's a humbling realization at times, but it's the truth. It's equally true for all of us, no matter our role. Someone is watching and emulating our behavior, and we may be influencing them through our choices and actions. Modeling is the most powerful of all teachers. The QBQ for each of us. How can I set better example? Who's watching you? Chapter 8, page 84. Practicing personal accountability. All QBQs focus on action. A corporation that had just gone through a major merger held a QBQ session. Afterwards, a middle manager came up and shared this story with me. He had come into our morning program, gripping complaining his words about a problem with the new parent company headquarters in New Jersey, which was seriously hampering his field operations. After an hour or so of the QBQ, he began to think differently. He slipped out of the room and booked a ticket for the next day for the East Coast. He had figured out how to solve the problem. What a great example of practice of personal accountability. First, he chooses to stop complaining. Second, he asks better questions. What can I do? And third, when the better answer came, he thought, you know what? I can head out there and sit with my colleagues and figure this thing out. And he did it. It's so simple. The ultimate goal of QBQ is action. And it's also our third guideline. All QBQs focus on action. To make QBQ action focused, we add verbs such as do, make, achieve, and build. Questions that start with what or how, and contain an I. Now, if it's that all we did, a QBQ might sound something like what I do, or how I build. So to avoid something like cave people, we add another word or two, such as can or will, and now, today, and end up the excellent sounding questions like what can I do right now? What can I do right now? And how will I make a difference today? If we don't ask what we can do or make or achieve or build, then we won't do or make or achieve or build. It is just as simple that simple. Only through actions is anything accomplished. The practice of personal accountability. We discipline our thoughts. We ask better questions. We take action. Chapter 29. The risk of doing nothing. Can't do nothing. A senior leader of a financial institution told me, sometimes people say to me, I don't want to take risks. I tell them, you and I had better take risks because there are about a dozen people at their computers right now in this building trying to eliminate our jobs. But what he was really saying is none of us has guaranteed job security. And our lack of incentive today may guarantee our lack of employment tomorrow. Taking action may seem risky, but doing nothing is a bigger risk. Even though there are risks involved in taking action, the alternative indication is almost never the better choice. Hold on, chapter 29. Wait. Yeah, this is chapter 29. Action, even when it leads to mistakes, brings learning and growth. Indication brings stagnation and a trophy. Actions lead us towards solution. Indication does nothing and holds us in the past. Action requires courage. Indication often indicates fear. Action builds confidence. Indication doubt.